him, okay, we didn't hang out, all right? Like, he was a cool kid, kind of. I was a slightly socially awkward, chubby kid. We didn't hang, all right? We were in the same grade and all that stuff, but we didn't really know each other. It's just a weird fluke that I ended up writing this book. I also don't write for the Supernatural TV series, no matter what you read on Reddit or Twitter. One of my students, I used to be a college professor, one of my students, when I left academia to write full-time, I told my students in my class that I was leaving to write a book on the mythology of Supernatural. And one of my students apparently wasn't paying attention, which, you know, happens, and went on Reddit and said, guess what? Nathan Brown is writing for Supernatural now, and he hangs out with Jensen Ackles because they went to junior high together. I don't even know where she got that from. So I had to put it on my blog to explain it, because so please, don't ask me what Jensen Ackles is like. I have no idea. I haven't seen the man in like 20-something years. So, and even then, I think I just like walked by him in the hallway. So anyway, so now I got that out of the way. Excuse me. All right, so let's move. So anyway, what happened was Supernatural started becoming popular in Japan with girls. Big shock, right? The females in Japan really liked the idea of two very pretty guys in a nice car driving around, you know, having interrelational issues. It went really well. One of the problems, however, was they didn't get a lot of the pop culture references, because completely different culture, they weren't getting a lot of the stuff that Sam and Dean would say. So the idea was to create an anime that was kind of more geared towards a Japanese audience. Didn't go so well. They only made it, I think, past the first couple of seasons. So what's the difference? The main difference, like the main storyline, the overall plot, you know, yellow-eyed demon, Sam and Dean were doing the whole Route 66 thing, looking for the yellow-eyed demon, you know, mom getting killed. They have John Winchester's there, Bobby pops in and out every now and then, and we'll talk about him in a second. It's not pretty. But for the most part, they wanted to make the characters and situations more relatable and understandable to a Japanese audience. Really only got past elements from season 1 and 2 of Supernatural, and they don't really follow the storyline exactly. There are some episodes of the anime that follow the Supernatural exactly the same, and some of them are originals, which means they just made it for the animated series. Alright, and so these are some of our examples. In one of the, in episode 4, which is an original episode for the animated series, it was called Savage Blood. They had a boy, basically, getting beat up by bullies and gets tossed off like a 10-story high-rise apartment building. And apparently Dean has superpowers because he jumps under and catches the freaking kid. Like, doesn't break a bone, nothing. Like, the kid, like, I'm talking like 10 stories up, the kid falls, he jumps underneath and catches him. It was freaking incredible. And so anyway, the kid is, you know, like I said, having issues with bullies, and so he asks Dean to teach him how to fight, because his father won't teach him how to fight. There's a reason his father won't teach him how to fight. It's because he's a vampire. And when he gets angry, he turns into a freaking vampire. So it becomes a problem. But Dean's like, oh yeah, absolutely, I'll teach you how to fight. So he does. And he teaches him judo. And what I love is most of the episode is him teaching this kid judo. And what's hilarious is they're both wearing like traditional Japanese judogi while they're doing it. I'm like, I didn't even know Dean had that in the Impala. You know, like, I don't remember. I mean, I guess he keeps in the same place they keep all the suits, because I don't know. I never see where they keep all that stuff. I'm imagining somewhere in the trunk, but I've seen that trunk. I don't remember seeing any suitcases. I don't even know where they keep their clothes. So anyway, he teaches this kid how to fight. And it kind of ends up an issue where the kid does turn into a vampire, but his dad and him are living off cow's blood, so they don't kill him. So it's one of those you know, vegetarian vampire things. But the whole time, Dean's telling him, though, that he's teaching him judo. And at the end of the episode, Sam says to Dean, you know, Dad didn't teach us judo. He taught us jujitsu. And to an American audience, they'd be like, why are they even bringing that up? The reason is, in Japan, people are far more familiar with the difference between judo and jujitsu. Judo is a sport, all right? You're not really supposed to break people in judo. In jujitsu, all you do is break people. Like, that's your whole job in jujitsu. So it would make more sense that he was teaching them jujitsu, not judo. You know, vampires don't tap out. One of the other original ones, which is probably the most Japanese-styled episode they have, is called Bad Luck, or it's called Spirit of Vegas. It has a bad luck kami called Bimbogami. Bimbogami is more like a title than a name. It actually means god or kami of poverty and desperation. Excuse me. The Bimbogami, more or less, they go to Vegas. All right, Sam and Dean go to Vegas to do this thing. They didn't really tell you what the thing is. There's just a thing. They go. And they get there, and Dean starts gambling, all with their money. And he's winning, doing great, and he comes across a cursed coin that's attached to this Bimbogami poverty spirit. And the difference is, like most poverty gods or poverty-related spirits in like the Western world, like are kind of like patron saints of the poor. Not the Japanese one. The Japanese one makes you poor. So all of a sudden, it basically just causes horrible things to happen. The whole like job of this Bimbogami is more or less to find people who are having good luck and prosperity and just destroy them. And now it's attached to Dean, so it goes after Dean. Oh, excuse me. And throughout the episode, you hear this weird little like crackling sound. Like, you know that sound beetles make? I can't mimic it. I've tried and it's horrible, so I'm not going to do it. But it's like that kick. I did it. I can't really make a mimic sound, but they do that. And the truth is, Americans don't really understand like why they would make that sound. They don't ever really explain it. But the truth is, mythologically speaking, in Japanese folklore, if you hear that sound, that means Bimbogami is nearby. And so, where you need to get away from wherever he is, wherever you are, because he might be coming, and once he's attached to you, it's really hard to get rid of him. And once he's got him, he's got this little old man, little Japanese old man with a staff, like sitting on his shoulder every time he looks in the mirror, and he's just sitting there, and every time something bad happens, he's going hee 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 hee. It's really funny. Not a lot funnier than what I just did. So anyway, the worst thing about it, though, in this episode, is that you see kind of how Japanese people view American culture, and it's a very unrealistic depiction. For example, brace yourselves, a couple guys steal the Impala, and they wreck it. What I love is the two thugs who steal the Impala are wearing like flame do-rags and like 1950 style biker jackets. Because apparently in Japan, that's what they think American criminals look like. It's hilarious. So these two guys, they wreck the Impala. Dean is having horrible luck everywhere. They got kicked out of the casino because their room caught fire. They owe like thousands of dollars there. But Dean, they go to another hotel. Sam's like, don't leave. But of course, these guys steal the Impala. So Dean takes off. Goes off after these guys. They crash the Impala. They get away. So Sam finally finds Dean later, and he's sitting on a curb with all these pieces of paper like all over his face and arms. And it's hilarious. All the papers have on them are the letters IOU with dollar amounts underneath them. But apparently in Japan, an IOU is a legally binding contract. It's the most hilarious thing. Like, he's not in jail, he doesn't get a ticket, like nothing bad has happened to him, but he's got all these IOUs for damages all over himself. And it's just funny. Like, if you believe that an IOU is a legally binding contract, I'd like to talk to you after this. We have a business proposition for you. And one of the other ones, though, this is one of the other big changes in the anime, is you get to see a lot more of the special effects. The issue with Supernatural is they have a special effects budget, but obviously, if they do everything, it's going to run out very quickly. So they decided really early on that if they couldn't do a special effect well, they would find a way to leave it to the audience's imagination. Like shapeshifters, for example. We always find their skin, we never see them change. We also don't know where they get the new clothes. Like, right? We find their skin, or that we see a piece of skin come off their arm or something, and then all of a sudden they cut to another scene. And then all of a sudden they're like, the guy is Dean in Dean's clothes, and we have no idea how he got Dean's clothes. So anyway, but we do get to see it in, but they still don't explain the clothes move, by the way. We do get to see it in Alter Ego. This one is based on episode 1, or season 1, episode 6. It is the first time they show us the full transformation, and it's very interesting because the transformation almost has a lot more of an anime type feel to it, a Japanese look to it. You know, where the legs are smaller than the shoulders. You know, you get that kind of tapered look to them, and the werewolves are kind of the same way. You know, when they transform, they're a little bit more like a werewolf instead of just a person with bad teeth.